Welcome back to Wuhan, China, host of the 2017 Worlds Group Stage. We're counting down to an NA versus EU clash between Immortals and Fnatic as the fight in Group B is heating up with only 4 games left to play. Now, it was a very close fight when these two teams met last week, and Rekkles and Fnatic will be looking for revenge after a crushing defeat.
Exactly, and I know a lot of people will remember their last play that happened where Rekkles flashed forward against Pobelter and then Pobelter used Hourglass and the game was over. But before that, Rekkles had multiple big plays that were very much in favor of Fnatic, but there were also some very poor Baron calls from Fnatic's side that Immortals used to get back in the game multiple times. So the macro was definitely in Immortals' favor, but some of the individual carry performances was in Fnatic's favor.
On top of that, both teams having just lost their game, looking to rebound here quickly on the day. So the first real test of mentality, right? Carrying over from losses and looking for victories.
And I think the mentality for Fnatic is spilling over into the draft with the priority on Twitch for Rekkles. Twitch, to me, is the champion that says, I want a 1v5. I can do enough damage to kill everybody. And so prioritizing it against Longzhu, going with it against Immortals, I think Immortals will target that champion again. And I need to see more out of this bottom lane, because when it creates a disparity between an early game top side and then a bottom lane, you don't really have an identity with your composition, and so you get a game like what we just saw against Longzhu, where you kind of lose early game since Jace can still beat you, and then your bottom lane just doesn't go very well because it's Sona.
And I mean, that being said, it was one play away really from Fnatic winning that last game, right? They need to focus on the fact that despite they had a couple rough games against Longzhu, despite the fact they lost about Gigabyte, they're still in this group, and they still can actually take down Immortals and be on their way.
Now, given the closeness of the last game these guys played, as well as the losses that you've seen from them both today, time to put the pressure on you guys. Looking for a prediction, starting with you, Deficio. Who's coming away with the victory?
I'm going for Immortals in this game here, going against Europe for now, maybe some anti-jinxing or whatever, but I do not trust in Fnatic's mental state at the moment. I think Immortals will come in with better synergy, better teamwork, and then it doesn't matter that I value some of the carries on Fnatic above Immortals, because again, you win as a team.
I mean, even the European is not going with Europe, what can we expect here? I'm going with Immortals as well, and just like the previous one, I think Rekkles being that 1v5 attempt towards IMT is not going to work. I know that Cody Sun didn't have the greatest game, same with pretty much all of Immortals, but I think that they got thrown off a curveball against the Gigabyte Marines here. They know what to expect from Fnatic, and I think they'll answer well.
Probably no Urgot in the top lane this time around. Ezreal, who you picking?
I'm also going to go with Immortals, but I will say, despite all three of us predicting them, I think this is a winnable game for Fnatic.
Oh, yeah,
Immortals
yeah.
did not look good against Gigabyte Marines at all today, and it's very easy to forget that. So, you know, if Immortals plays to that level, I think Fnatic would beat them.
The door is open. It's up to Fnatic to take it. We'll soon find out which predictions come true as we send it over to Freak, Papa Xmithie, and Jad for the picks and bans.
Thank you very much. This is going to be a fun one, absolutely. And because of the way the games have gone so far, every other game in this group stage means so very much. There's like a bunch of different possible tiebreakers. You can all tie for 2 and 4. You can tie at 4 and 2. Immortals actually can still take over first place, I do believe, because they can get to 4 and 2. Three-way tie, that whole thing, and you know, battle Longzhu for that spot. It's going to be a fun one to see what happens.
Yeah, and Pobelter has been in this situation before, back in 2015 on COG, where he was 2 and 1 in the first week of Worlds and then didn't make it out of groups. It's a very common NA thing where week 2 is worse than week 1, so Immortals has that in the back of their mind, and they do not want to collapse.
And I also want to point out that both these teams come in having played against an aggressive early game comp, and both of them kind of look for more of the scaling approach. Immortals certainly were found out by the Gigabyte Marines. You can say the same thing about Fnatic. So how this draft plays out may actually be very different to what we saw in Game 1 and Game 2, because maybe this will be more of what we've seen so far in Week 1 of the group stage of Worlds, maybe more of the passivity in the early game, because so far today, it's been the proactive team getting leads, and I'm not sure if either of those teams will opt into being proactive.
We'll see what happens into this one as we get ourselves through the first beginning of the ban phase. Sejuani and Greg is off the table. Of course, we haven't seen Sejuani out of Xmithie yet, but we know a lot of teams prioritize that champion quite a bit. Kalista, no surprise there, and the Syndrome means not as much lane priority for Caps. See what he goes to next up.
Yeah, tons of jungle bans at Xmithie as he is the facilitator for this Immortals team, and also no support bans so far this game until that one, but this just creates a Janna versus Lulu trade scenario, and you wonder if Fnatic prioritizes Janna highly enough to first pick it when it's going to be traded. That answer is yes.
it means they also give away whatever Immortals want. A lot of times teams are happy to say, yeah, pick one, we'll take the other. We want some other priority pick. Not the case here clearly for Fnatic.
And teams were definitely opting into Janna versus Lulu, Janna versus Lulu. Lulu Trist is the combination, like you say, Jat, that's locked in here. But I think what we learned over the first week of Worlds is that unless you're an early game proactive team, I guess Gigabyte Marines and Longzhu, the counterpoint to this point, it felt like Janna got a lot more value in week 1 of the group stage. It felt like Janna, with her late game team fighting in so many games, going late, provided more, giving the ultimate, applying the uncensored to everyone. So I'm not surprised to see Janna higher.
Yeah, and what we've seen a lot of is Janna with Twitch and Lulu with Trist. And I would actually think that that has kind of gone definitely over to the Lulu Trist in the early game, and arguably over to the Twitch in the late game, whether or not it comes back. What I'd like the Fnatic does here is then going for the Xayah does give them a stronger lane than the Twitch that won't just get steamrolled. And then they'll still have Janna peel in the late game, just not quite the same team-wide tread that a Twitch would have.
And both these teams actually going for some pretty strong early game junglers. Broxah back on the Rek'Sai here. Of course, Xmithie on his second Ezreal game. Last time he played it, he did lose, but that was the battle against Longzhu, so you can't really fault him for it. I want to point out that the Broxah did, in fact, seem to go Cinderhulk Rek'Sai in the previous game. He wanted to be another frontliner. That might have been a team comp situation, or he might always think it's the best choice, because we have seen Warrior on this champion.
Exactly. I wonder if he'll go Warrior again, because there's a potential you can snowball the game with that. Papa Xmithie, when you talk about proactivity and how Immortals was up against the more aggressive Gigabyte Marines, when you're tracking combined kills per minute, which is the mark of how aggressive or fast a team plays, Immortals was extremely fast during the regular season, the fastest team in the North American LCS, so they like to play fast in the ideal scenario.
And I guess that's why it was surprising they opted into what they perceived as the World's meta, the scaling meta, the Twitch Janna of bot lanes as a meta. This game will be different. You see jungle Ezreal, you know that they are going to be playing much more on the front foot. I would imagine Flame would go for the Maokai here, just locks it in as I say it, given that that allows you to combine very well. Could even be a level 2 gank top lane, just like the old Nidalee Maokai days many moons ago. This does give sOAZ his choice of options, though. So I'm interested to see where he goes for the top lane.
Absolutely, and of course the meta game response would be, oh, Cho'Gath, he's the other big tank in the top lane we see so much of, but Cho is very unreliable in getting away. He's an unsafe champion, he's got no blinks or anything like that, and we know Ezreal Maokai can be such a strong 2-on-2 gank. Blind pick mid lane gonna come through, of course it has to for Caps. He's gonna grab Cassiopeia for himself, as Immortals are gonna make sure that they get Pobelter matchup he wants.
Yeah, with Syndra the only mid lane banned, the blind pick Cassiopeia does speak to a team fight that they expect to have a lot of appeal for the Cassio, because Cassiopeia is a lot like a late game AD carry when you think about the need to protect it. And the Nautilus, so far only picked by C9, now by Fnatic.
And the thought was you want a tank in the front line for this composition. You've got 2 great front liners, or 2 great damage dealers in the back line. What can you pick that won't die right away to Ezreal? Nautilus has escapes. He's gotten buffs to his Q cooldown, the mana cost, everything else like that. Orianna gonna be the response in the mid lane here for Pobelter.
And while it's a standard champion for where the meta is, that's only the second Orianna of group stage. It was only Faker picking it into Scout's Lucian so far. Does give them an element of scaling. Very interesting. I like the Nautilus here because you see Ezreal, Maokai, and Trist Lulu, and you know that Immortals wants to play through bot lane. We already had Xmithie, last time he played jungle Ezreal this tournament, play through bot side and Flame come in with smart ganks. Now they also have a faster pushing top lane. When we had these tank top laners, and it was largely Maokai, Renekton, Nautilus, it felt like Nautilus was the more early game choice and provides early game coverage with his TP.
That was the case then, but that was also with the triple Doran's ring working and also lower mana costs on Nautilus. And I think one of the large regencies fell off because a lot of that was muted. So I feel like now the main thing that Nautilus brings is that reliability to get a knock-up on a carry that you want to go for. And sOAZ is going to have to do a lot to get to that point on Nautilus.
And a big part of this champion is the fact that a lot of that crowd control cannot be cleansed. The knockup's going to last kind of regardless. You can get rid of the stun on the back half of it, but the ulti's there, the pull through with the Q is going to be there. So threat onto the back line is there, the damage up, but certainly in this comp as well. You can see these lineups on your screen. Another Ezreal for Xmithie, a champion that I like seeing, and I like how much we see Ezreal, that he's there as a flavor if a team wants to play a comp like this, but he's not the 100% pick ban champion, you know, like Kalista or something where it has to be removed every time.
And also, I do think there's a lot of hedging of bets when it concerns the late game team fighting in this game. I don't think there's a super clear cut, this team comp and this champion is way better in the late game, because you would think it would be the Orianna Maokai team in some ways, but they have the the Ezreal thrown in there in the jungle. And then on the same sense over on Fnatic, they have that Rek'Sai who isn't necessarily a great late game tank and no Twitch to kind of carve it out. So very much about just who gets ahead in this game.
We'll see who does here. 2017 Worlds continuing here with our third game of the day. Still waiting to see who is going to make it out of Group B. If Fnatic dropped this game 0-5 is an unrecoverable scoreline. Otherwise, though, they are still alive, but they must win to do so, and they've got to get their next win against the Marines afterwards. But that life could be had for them. Immortals, after you could consider an upset loss to Gigabyte Marines earlier, now on the back foot, need to find some ways in, whether that's going to be a tiebreak for first, a tiebreak for last, or something else. Wait to be seen.
Always like to scrutinize how teams play both with and against Ezreal jungle, given his power as a level 2 ganker. Fnatic in the brush, not spotted yet.
They're going to land a little bit there, and there's going to be, of course, no CC to be had. There's no way for that to happen here. Xmithie going to take some poison, some damage, and actually that's an early flash forced out. Nautilus here as well. They've got to respect that. A flash Q, and it's going to be the tank coming in for Cody Sun, then Rocket jumps away. If that was a pull on Xmithie, that was a dead Ezreal, so the right choice.
Yeah, and a lot of things right there, how Cody Sun saves his summoner spells, but has to skill W first, which can take away from their early push in a cull lane that they are expecting to win lane with.
Same story with sOAZ. He did hook, skill up the hook first. So, of course, he will not have W or E for a bit more wave control. Trades on both sides with Xmithie losing his flash. Still probably will be proactive at level 2, but doesn't have the ability to get out if he does commit here.
Just the red buff pull coming through for both these junglers here. Not a lot of damage dealt elsewhere. You saw Flame duck down to leash the camp for him a little bit, and looks like actually sOAZ is going to be in lane in plenty of time, so his roam down to the bot lane will not hurt him in the laning phase other than his skill choice. So far, perfect CS for this one, and only one drop by Flame.
An extremely aggressive jungle pathing by Xmithie. A flashless invade here against a Rek'Sai who will tremor sense him. He's just going for a kill.
Finds some slow with the red buff. Archangel 30 down, forces the flash out of Broxah, makes it happen. That was ballsy, but it worked out for Xmithie.
I mean, Jungle Ezreal is unmatched in dueling early on in the game. Gets the Q onto him, and that's pretty much all he needed, unless a collapse would have come from Caps, which it did not, since it was so early.
But I feel like the extra part of the puzzle that needs to be complemented is, don't you expect him to be a little bit more hesitant, maybe even a second or two more hesitant when his own flash is down? But he knows the texture of the matchup. He knows he has a massive invader's advantage, and this is why tank jungle players detest having Ezreal in the meta. The moment he arcane shifts in, your only real option is to flash out.
Yeah, and he had to do that right there. So Xmithie getting rid of 2 of the camps plus the Scuttle on this side of the map, including a buff steal as well. We'll see if Broxah can match the blue himself, or he has to take Scuttle and recall, because it is an injured Rek'Sai here who lost about 400 health doing the initial clear. To knock up on this, we'll clear it away, but yeah, we'll see what comes in next, as Olleh wants to make sure blue's not being stolen, and he realizes it's not.
Also just got to see the all-time record of the EU LCS teams versus the NA LCS teams at World, so that's 2013 onwards, since the inception of the LCS. Incredibly close.
Yep.
13-12 between EU and NA, and it always seems to have very pivotal games as well. This one of those as well. A loss would eliminate Fnatic, or rather an Immortals win would eliminate Fnatic, and a Fnatic win would keep them alive and also make it more difficult for Immortals to advance.
See if they get help from Longzhu or the Marines later on in this one. Even Fnatic themselves can actually drop a game to Immortals, then beat Marines to like make that easier. You know, they can still help them out. The camaraderie can still happen for the Western teams. It's so fun, like the battle between the North America and Europe, because half the time we're just battling, saying we want to do better. Then half the time it's like, yay, the West won a game. Like at a certain point, America cheers for Fnatic and like wants them to do well.
I do admit, as an Australian, I kind of take a back seat, watch from afar, and just enjoy my Korean games and kind of ignore you guys squabbling. But
of course,
it does add to the drama, I have to say.
We're fighting for table scraps. We all know Korea is the best region League of Legends, but second best is up for grabs every year, and sometimes first best can be up for grabs.
I may know it, but I still love hearing it.
Of course. I like to pander to you, make you feel good about yourself, and we are to this one right now. Very close landing phases across. Looks like a small lead will go to Flame in CS as he catches this wave up. 9 CS and Ezreal lies to a little bit, but still props to Broxah for keeping up in XP despite that jungle invade from earlier on. Just takes the bigger camps.
Yeah, and he actually does have a camp advantage because he's cleared both Krugs as well as a lot of Raptor camps. So his gold lead is 160 over Xmithie right now. Yep. Just good early pathing there by Broxah when dealing with the invade even of Xmithie.
It's very interesting that Rekkles actually backed early. Support did not. Jesiz stayed in lane, but backed early just to pick up a couple of long swords to find a pushing advantage in bot side. Supports are expected to stay in lane as long as possible to get big parts towards their first item, inevitably the Ardent Sensor. And actually, he kind of snuck her back, but lost some CS for it.
It happens, Cap slowed down. Pobelter wants in. A nice juke gets away from Xmithie's Q, but he's got to run out of places to go. The flash's available. Here comes Rek'Sai. The knockup's going to be had. Look at a knockdown and a Pobelter. Do they have it? Yes, they do. First blood. 2 games in a row for Broxah's Rek'Sai.
Just a big chase by Immortals right there. They felt so empowered getting the chunk on Caps and knowing he was low on mana, but he has just enough to take enough of Pobelter's health bar so Broxah can finish. Over-aggression there by Immortals, chasing down onto Caps.
And it's of course a duo we don't talk about a lot, you don't hear about a lot in the ULCS. Caps and Broxah actually in the right spot there, clearing the Raptors, kited back excellently. Big stuff there for Fnatic. Getting any advantage against this Ezreal allows Broxah's life especially to be a little bit less of a headache because he doesn't have to respect Xmithie invading with an item advantage.
And also just talking about past Worlds experiences. We mentioned Pobelter was 2-1 in 2015 to a bad week 2. It happened 2 years in a row for Xmithie on CLG. So he has a lot of memories of being good in the first week and falling apart on the day in the next week. He burned his flash early. He made a good play to make the invade onto the Rek'Sai, but here, a definite overchase by Immortals.
The Xmithie come in, he was hoping that the first initial Q would hit, and maybe they would have enough damage to stop having to face check areas they did not have vision of. Broxah is completely on point with his engage here. Good focus damage onto Pobelter. Also want to draw your guys' attention to Broxah's items. He does have a longsword, so the chance of Warrior certainly a lot higher.
I think it is generically the stronger build, but I think you might need a tank on your team to make it work. And of course, with sOAZ the Nautilus, Broxah is allowed to go for the squishier Rek'Sai look, and that snowball can continue. Rek'Sai has great attack damage ratio.
And it's kind of both a half step both ways. If you see Kha'Zix plays, they sometimes go red smite Warrior just to have that extra dueling against Ezreal. He's gone Tracker's Knife, he knows he needs vision, but the Warrior at least means if there's ever a turn, there's the chance of an outplay.
Like he's on the bot side. It's an item lead for Cody Sun by quite a lot. He's got that BF Sword recall and is back in a lane. That was an important thing by the Immortals duo to do very well down here. Farm lead right now is 11. And they'll keep that for at least a little bit here as Caps gets away with some of the control wards. See the next item spikes come in right now, but you should expect the Immortals duo to do very well here in this one. They're going for the cool start, which I would say is about as greedy or aggressive or late game as a Relic Shield would be. You get more gold on the Marksman, of course, a slower Ardent Sensor on the support.
Yeah, especially for Tristana when the Trist items are very important, the Infinity Edge and the Static Shiv, rather than hitting the Power Spike at exactly the same time as the Lulu like some of the other builds do. I like the call. And also because Janna has such low all-in potential, the little bit of health from the Relic Shield isn't necessary in most cases. And when we've seen this Trist-Lulu duo matched up, they push so quickly that you often see them getting a lot of turret damage. Looking at this lane with the double longsword that Papa Xmithie pointed out earlier from Rekkles, they barely touch the turret.
What I also factor in when you're deciding your starting item is how you expect the game to play out. You see the Janna, like you mentioned, probably going to be more of a farm lane. Like Janna versus Lulu is usually the indication of that. There's also much higher priority on the enemy junglers to play around the solo lanes, just given how much CC there is in top and also what we've seen in mid lane. So it's not surprising the junglers haven't been bottom, even more likely to opt into the investment choice of the cull and not be punished.
I like this choice by Olleh to walk over to the lane. Of course, with lane priority, it allows you to go for this. But he's got the ulti, so we can burst it down right here. The smite should come in time, and yes, that is Infernal Break picked up at 9 minutes for Xmithie. The team was there just in time.
We have big Infernal Drake if this one scales late. Ezreal, Orianna, and Tristana all benefit largely from the increased attack damage and ability power, but there is a deficit that Immortals is playing around. That mid lane is not going well whatsoever for Pobelter, and going very well for Caps on that blind pick Cassiopeia.
It's a matchup that usually scales into its own a bit later, but Xmithie coming in and actually leading to Pobelter's death has kind of thrown off the timings of when the mid lane trades can go better and better for the Orianna. So like you say, something to consider. Top lane, of course, nothing happening there.
Yeah, there's a farm lead though, and that's always interesting. Just seeing that Flame right now up about 10 is solid play. He's doing nicely for himself, and of course, what's the more highly prized tank in the matchup? We certainly see a lot more Maokai than Nautilus, so some of that could be champion strength, or at least perceived strength, but solid right now still. This game 800 apart, and Caps looking for the roam top side, and then decides better of it.
Yeah, still getting a lot of top side pressure out of Caps having that mid lane priority onto Pobelter. If they can catch where Xmithie is, it allows them to make many more plays. I'm still waiting for when the Nautilus or the Maokai enters the game, because especially with 2 warrior junglers in this game, whoever the tank chooses to initiate on is in grave danger. So wherever they use it is, whether or not it's successful, has a huge output on this game.
Here looking at more pressure to bot lane. Nice little route there. You're seeing the results starting to show for the Immortals duo, getting some attacks onto this bot lane outer turret. It's a couple of ways away from dying. The question, though, is then jungle pressure. If you can push it down with a teammate joining in.
So little counterplay available for the side of Fnatic. There's 2 control wards, one in the lane and also one in the river brush. No teleports coming from there, so they know sOAZ to join.
Powering it down.
The attack speed is in. They got to get away from not getting the explosive charge onto them, and this will be first turret going down. Again, lane priority mattering. And a big surge of 1,000 gold going towards Immortals, putting them 600 gold ahead now of Fnatic.
Yeah, that's huge. Cody Sun's call also has been completed due to his 109 CS, so he's going to have a really nice trip back to base, and they're either going to return to that lane to prevent the turret from going down, or they're just going to look to cycle top.
And while we focus on Ezreal as a ganking jungler, just because level 2 with red buff, his early game ganks, he's also, just like Graves last time he was in the meta, and I guess you could argue he is, given that Cloud9 has played him at Worlds, he can just enter a lane that's pushed up, auto-attack safely, even has the Essence Flux to buff the attack speed and also help take down structures. So he's also very useful in that way as well.
Absolutely agree. We'll see if that can happen some more into this one, or if Fnatic finds their next way to bounce back. A nice little recall stop by sOAZ. Maybe to get into the brush, just landed the Riptide all the same, pushing the wave in. Of course, the Immortals duo is here to make this happen, and look, it's the same 3 champions yet again. The range squad here, the auto attackers, are going to knock down their next turret. They should be a little bit faster in the play than Rekkles.
Yeah, Fnatic's not caught up on this play, so it's probably just going to be a potentially full turret advantage for Immortals here. They've also already cleared the Infernal Drake down in the bottom side, so they can take the Rift Herald either now or after if they so choose.
This is nice.
Immortals committing the teleport to make sure they get it on this wave.
Yeah,
but
Fnatic going to make it happen.
Yeah, still relatively behind on this play.
All right, that's turret down at least a little bit first for Fnatic, as Immortals going to split their pressure up a little bit. Cody Sun going to be a little slower, but it'll be okay.
Yeah, it's a greedy play by Immortals to go for the Rift Herald right now rather than start the turret, because it sets them behind on the tempo of the turret trade. But with the Rift Herald, they're hoping to take the mid-outer after this play. It just depends on how well Flame can defend under this turret.
And that ends up being priority of turret.
Ulti coming across, gets the shield. Here comes the burst damage across, trying to juke as much of that as he can. The ulti from Jesiz getting the heal, and Flame jumping over the wall, staying alive. But here comes Broxah, wants a bit more. Gets a bit of a heal out for Flame. He's got the teammate around, but the chase is in for Caps. Looks for the stun, but here comes the team. Xmithie's there in the play. The shotgun's going to land. They're going to look to talk down Caps. Can they get him? Yes, they can. The autos come through, and now it's sOAZ forced to run. He does have flash, so the slow from Glitter won't be the kill just yet. Olleh still in the chase. Xmithie, of course, you saw he got the kill credit on that one. A delayed announcement as top lane did finally fall to Cody Sun.
As far as greedy plays go, that's a huge payoff for Immortals. They get a kill, and they're still going to end up trading the turret in the top side.
You're going to get bonus as well, blue buff. It was greedy, actually, by the side of Fnatic also, because they tried to do so many things at the same time. They could have just taken the inner bot lane turret and realized that eventually they'd probably trade the mid with Rift Herald and say, okay, we've got power around the bot side, we can make that work. But they try to get a kill in transition as well. Pobelter was already going to be there with a shield. The chance of actually making the ult flash play from Caps was low.
Sure. End result of the play, though, is -1 kill, or I guess +1 kill in favor of Immortals. It is an overall 2-for-2 turret trade. Rift Herald was consumed in the kill of mid lane outer, and so that bot lane first turret that Immortals already gained from the laning phase remains. That kill from the overdive, certainly a nice thing for Immortals, and now we're back into this square. 700 gold apart. Xmithie wanting this red buff away from Broxah. Spite fight gonna be taken by Xmithie. It wasn't even a smite for Broxah, it was free.
Very good on the smites, though, regardless, for Xmithie. Always trying to burst that with damage, and then Fnatic still can't catch up to that turret. So we're going to watch this whole sequence of events again. Flame getting a large Curse of Colossus shield, then just realizing it's time to flash out, getting a good angle over the wall. And as you mentioned, a lot of greed coming in from Caps at the end.
I mean, you watch the back end of this. Caps does not have to make the flash ult play. Smart from Flame, who honestly played both these phases of the replay perfectly. Stood on the left side of the turret, gave himself an avenue to flash away to. Flashing further to his base wouldn't have worked. And then, well, we don't know where Cassio is. She can only come in from one direction. Looking away there. Very nice from Flame. Sort of stable play we'd expect give it his year.
But does Immortals try and contest this Ocean Drake? It is 5 strong for Fnatic, and their bottom lane is very far behind.
Nice pick up right there. Drake goes over to Fnatic with this one. Broxah getting the credit on this. Though the ultis were all available, no fight to be started. Immortals, though, could have a little bit of alone time with the map because there's these recalls forced out from Fnatic, so
yeah.
Ocean Drake turns into what?
This could very well be inner turret in the mid lane. They have such mid lane priority on this.
A lot of attack damage on Cody Sun. First explosive charge already popped here in this turret now, below half HP, and no one else here to defend. So yes, Ocean Drake actually turns into mid lane tier 2 trade because they were pushed down to the bottom side, forced to recall away.
These 4 ranged auto attackers, like I was mentioning, can do a lot of work. Normally, Ezreal's W, his ability to scale later, you often don't get much value out of it. 4 auto attackers get massive value, they take down another turret, and they keep the tempo advantage for Immortals, but it's still pretty slight. Fnatic certainly, once again, in this game.
Absolutely within reach. 2,000 gold apart, though, and this one's got to feel good for Immortals fans right here in North American LCS, hoping to make themselves into the top 8. A region that so regularly disappoints in week 2 of the group stage. Immortals hoping to buck that trend here.
Yeah, and Fnatic trying to catch up on this top lane turret. Again, looking at the AD carries, the CS looks even, right? But consider the cull, the no purchase of the Relic Shield, and all the turret gold, and suddenly you have a 1,000 gold lead for Cody Sun and a strong 2-item power spike.
Broxah, you can see pushed around. Static Shift Infinity Edge crits do so much damage, and a TP coming
Teleport
in.
From Flame
wants this. He doesn't have home guard,
this.
though. He's not on the fountain, so he's far away. He's going to
loop. It's a long flank.
Through the bot side. The chase is still coming in. Of course, both Orianna and Lulu can add move speed, and Flame just gets nothing out of that teleport.
Yeah, they were maybe expecting Fnatic to all in, but a rather ambitious teleport thanks to no home guard boots. And also a bit of a reveal, Fnatic's going to try and loop around potentially.
Oh, they can catch him.
Turn, and they got him.
He's going to land. They've got the CC as well. No way out. Oh, he's going to flash, and okay, there's a way out.
The miasma was short by Cap, so he was able to flash away instantly.
But you see why they wanted, why they opt into the Nautilus. The pick power of being grounded after being stunned is very relevant. There isn't much escape to that. Immortals need to be so smart about their wave management as well. Speaking of waves.
Yeah, they're going to have enough with this one. They're going to knock that one down. Ocean Drake region helping, and they're going to wave the turret goodbye. But top lane 2-2 under fire. That's going to be a trade quickly picked up as long as the Immortals can walk away, and they can.
That's a turret trade that I think Fnatic should be happy with. Breaking the outer mid lane turret is incredibly important in the second tier turret in the top lane, not nearly so. I think that's why Pobelter burned his ultimate trying to clear that wave. He really didn't want to give it away, but essentially that's the extended play from sOAZ catching Pobelter with the Nautilus.
And we've seen the proactive use of Monsoon to apply Ardent Sensor. You look at Fnatic's comp, remember, it is a warrior, aggressive build on the Rek'Sai. Cassiopeia famously good at claiming Baron. The Baron power here in terms of being able to take it fast is very high on Fnatic. So taking the mid lane turret, getting the ability to put deep vision, Baron focus from Fnatic, I think will be on the menu earlier than you might expect in this game.
Absolutely agree. Of course, it's going to spawn in 1 minute and 45 seconds, and that might be the exact time Fnatic shows up in that jungle, in that river, and look for the play. Right now, a trade of resources yet again. The waves going back and forth. We'll wait to see what comes in next. Rekkles not yet on his first, or sorry, I should say second major item. Essence Reaper still the only big one he's got in the inventory. You gotta say Cody Sun definitely gonna be a better team fighter at the beginning of this game.
Yeah, and he's got to make sure he's positioned properly, because we talk about the connection of a Nautilus hook into a miasma being an inescapable combo.
Yep.
If you don't have your rocket jumper flash buffered before that happens. And so much of the early turret gold is in Cody Sun's pocket. Plus, he has had a few moments this tournament and even during the summer split where he's caught out of position more often than other AD carries. So incredibly important that he stays safe for this Immortals game.
I mean, put simply, a lot of the gold lead is in Cody Sun's pocket as well. He has massive gold advantage. High DPS build as well, whereas Essence Reaver is very much a building block item. That's why we saw Flame overeager to fight. They want to fight now. They feel super, super powerful. But Fnatic will do smart. Just buy a bit more time.
See if the Spiral Spike can still be used. These items have not yet changed hands yet. Rekkles very close to that situation right now. I believe he still can't quite afford a static shift, but he's getting closer to that mark. Or any of those other items, they all cost the same. Immortals would maybe want to fight a team fight. So far have yet to get themselves one. Only 1 kill per squad as we go 20 minutes in. It's been fairly bloodless. Lots of turrets and objectives falling. Here's this Baron.
Fnatic can safely make this invasion play. They know that Flame does not have teleport. We talked about looking for vision. We talked about Baron priority. This is the time to get the actual first step, the wards, because they know Flame can't be there for a TP gang.
Immortals cannot sleep on Baron control right now. they had a lead on Longzhu, went for a Drake, had Baron taken away from him. The Cassiopeia can take the Baron so quickly, and Immortals is going to have an extremely high priority on keeping vision around this area.
Let's look for the next play. One of the things they claimed was the reason for the loss is they played too scared around TP disadvantage in that Longzhu game from the previous week. There's still about 30 seconds of Flame not having it, and sOAZ does. And with Flame still aggressively pushing the bot lane, they didn't pull him up to the team. They let him push the wave. They felt comfortable stopping the Baron, and it seems like the over-cautiousness has drained out of the system a little bit. Immortals withstood the TP disadvantage, and it's going to be back up in 5 seconds.
Yeah, 27 seconds for the Infernal Drake. You can see the item difference still paying off for Immortals. Extra zeal on top of that Trist.
Yep.
So that's the moment in these games as well where we've seen certain Trists just absolutely take over. You can get that chain of crits with Lulu that sets up the resets before major armor has been built up by anyone on the opponent team.
You can see how aggressive Xmithie is. He's looking for the pokes, constantly trying to get themselves into a fight.
To be super aggressive though, there's no exclusive vision on either side. All control wards in the game are actually in the inventories of the player, so no one here has exclusive vision in an area.
Yeah, and anytime Immortals doesn't see Fnatic, they also have to worry about Baron, but they have a control ward in that Baron pit, which makes them safe to at least look for Infernal, but they would actually rather fight than risk this objective trade dance.
The case. They've got some stealth wards in that river as well, looking closer and closer to each other. sOAZ in the front line, Flame ready to get hit as well. Here's the anchor in. This could be the fight onto the battle. Flame gonna be in the front line. A nice true shot for him. Constructs with a half HP, and now sOAZ forced to flash away. Rocked him to chase, but he gets knocked up by the ulti out of Nautilus. Pobelter getting low, and he airballs the shockwave. This could be the fight that Fnatic really wants for themselves. 5v4 in the map. A top laner low, but he's got TP available.
Huge play by Caps over the wall right there, cutting Pobelter off, panicking Pobelter into that whiff shockwave. That's Infernal for Fnatic.
Nicely picked up right there. The battle was big, and Fnatic starting to fire back. Only 1,000 gold apart. They've tied up the Infernals, and Immortals actually on the wrong side of this one. Keep in mind, they're on the back side. This is not their side of the map, and Broxah picks up a kill. Now Cody Sun. Broxah jumping away, but a summon heal used to chase in further. Jesiz pops that summoner. Now 3v5. The chase can continue. This could be a complete wipe of Immortals. They're still trying to run away. Xmithie has nowhere to go. He's going to lose his life. This will be three straight kills for Fnatic.
That's the smite down for 37 seconds. Fnatic is running straight to Baron. They know Immortals is already cut off on the other side. They might try this one.
And it seems like it's the right time as well. They have massive damage, if not the Monsoon, to give everyone the Ardent Sensor. Probably having it on Xayah is enough. Teleport used as well. Should be Baron. Side of Fnatic.
Looking to stay alive in this group stage, looking to make it to the top 8, make it to the quarterfinals. This Baron getting burned down, and there is no smite. There is only some damage to the Immortals players. Can they get the shot? They're only going to fill a little bit of damage. Nothing to be done at all. This could be a kill onto Flame now. The team's got to run away. He flashed, but gets pulled right back in. And here sOAZ with the ult. He's going to find the two-person knockup. Cody Sun on the wings looking for Caps. Does not get stunned. Looks for some damage. And it will be Immortals able to kind of push the team around, but still a Baron with no death going over to Fnatic.
Just like that, they have their gold lead back in this game. Such close fights around the Dragon area, but just hugely outplayed by Fnatic, and some big mistakes by Immortals. Totally whiff Shockwave, running away on the wrong side, not recalling early.
I mean, it was both a team fight and then, as you say, decision-making to kite towards the red buff area of Fnatic. There's going to be more target acquisition. You have a Nautilus who can be very easily sped up and look for closest target. That part worked, and they lost the maximum there, Immortals, just fighting around a Drake.
And now this is a 1,000 gold lead for Fnatic. They are still wearing the Baron buff for the next 2.5 minutes. They can get a lot of advantages with this.
So Caps, of course, had missed the last ult flash. This time, he's waiting. He's waiting for a moment. Doesn't get the stun, but the moment that Pobelter was grounded, his options were small.
Yeah, and Cody Sun and the rest of Immortals pathing so up towards the top side, trying to kill sOAZ, puts them in a really poor position for the actual fight. They knew exactly where Cassiopeia was, and by chasing up top, their tank line abandoned the Cassio and then overstaying by Olleh.
They thought that if they stood in a control wall, they can make this play, but we've seen before, people predict that there are supports in that brush. We saw a kill from a Syndra onto, I believe, Core JJ last week. So not making the percentage plays Immortals and losing the maximum.
See what they can do on this one. Baron buff on. The fight could continue. Will they find themselves the dive? Not just yet. Cody's able to cut away, but Immortals looking to make Fnatic wait as long as they can between these turret kills, looking to bait out and defend as much of the Baron as possible right now. Fnatic still on the front foot here, 2,500 gold ahead, looking to push that even further.
Just want to re-emphasize the importance of this game. Fnatic still not eliminated from this. The possibility of a three-way tie for second is alive if they beat Gigabyte Marines, Immortals, and if Longzhu remains undefeated. That's the trifecta to get them into that three-way tie. And looking at the goal difference from date, the first time these teams played, it was a rocky ride for both teams, up and down, and it looks like we're in for one once again. Immortals seemed like they had the strength, seemed like they were destined for the second Infernal Drake, but then Caps flashes over the wall, everything changes.
Yeah, and of course that previous game, the reason Immortals really even won it was Rekkles overstepped. He flashed forward to chase Pobelter on Twitch, gave up his life, and that was the team fight, that was the game. You saw Immortals won the game still down in gold. You know Rekkles is not going to try to make that same mistake this game. They've got control, they can keep it.
And look, everyone has that moment from Rekkles etched in their mind, but remember, that was kind of a symptom of a problem Fnatic had where they didn't know how to close the game when they were in lead. We saw Rekkles in stealth, hunting for something, trying to make something happen. So far earlier today, fundamentals are good. Here, Fnatic, let's see how they play the map, because it doesn't have to be just Rekkles finding targets. They can play the map smart.
Exactly, and it wasn't just that play that cost them the game. There was a moment where Cho'Gath blast-coned over a wall to a low-health Baron, was unable to secure it, and then Flame picked up a solo kill on the other side of the map. There were situations where Fnatic could have closed out the game, and here, I feel like there were even situations where Immortals was in position to close out the game. When Cody Sun was at Infinity at Static Shift Zeal to Rekkles not even having the second Zeal item until that fight at Drake, where now Fnatic has a smidgen of control. It's just 3,000 gold.
And then you look at the side of Immortals, how to get back into this game. They need to find a way to make team fights more predictable for Pobelter. He's the one that's had to deal with Caps splashing after him, with Nautilus on his case. They need to find a way to cement something they can defend. Maybe it's a shallow control ward line, but a control ward line so that Orianna can be the facility, can actually choose the ball position rather than being forced into all.
And I think a lot of it is about avoiding flanks. I think the frontline to frontline team fight, when one team has a last whisper and the other doesn't, as is the case right here, Immortals can win that fight with the attack speed of the Ezreal. As long as they're not over-chasing sOAZ sideways to expose themselves to a Rek'Sai or Cassiopeia play.
We'll see what comes into this one. Third Infernal Drake of the game spawning in 30 seconds, and Fnatic have complete control of this side of the map. The Baron buff has timed out, the map is reset. End result is a 3,000 gold lead, and we'll see if Fnatic can keep this one moving forward. 3K at this stage of the game. Pretty small, not a gigantic one, certainly something that can be battled back against. A lot of that money, of course, is going to be on Jesiz, specifically the individual monetary difference, 1,400, so half that lead is just supports. You can see redemption being done on the one side, not the case here for Olleh. Caps trying to zone out the squad. Infernal Drake spawns now, and Fnatic have the ward control.
You wonder, is Immortals just going to force this fight? Caps in that flank position
He
again.
gets the catch out of the one. A lot of damage on Xmithie, forced to flash away, but now the sOAZ and Caps actually zoned out as well. Xmithie is so low, though, that looks like Immortals can't do much more else, but sOAZ wants in. He's got the front line. He's going to get the back line access onto Pobelter, but the knockup is there. Ezreal already shifting backwards even more. And the shock is going to land in a Caps, and they're followed through. Not quite just yet. The rocket jump forward. The damage is going to be there. Yes, redemption not going to reset in time. So 5v4 and no mid laner. The chase is in. A nice root from Rekkles. The blade color helping a bit. But a kill for an Infernal Drake, I would take Fnatic's trade.
Getting more there is actually very difficult for Immortals. It does stall the momentum coming through from Fnatic. Very nice turn. This time, they were kiting back as a unit. Caps was out of position because, of course, he was goalkeeping the attempt to steal away the Infernal. They got that, but when Caps rejoined, Immortals saw their chance.
Yeah, and also, we say it is an Infernal Drake for kill trade, but no trade was necessary. They actually win the engagement here as Caps gets the aggression of the Immortals team to chase him off. They can back away. He's just in his base, but it's Fnatic who says Xmithie is low. It's go time. sOAZ can get onto Pobelter, and Fnatic try to force the fight.
And it's these sort of situations that I watch and I wonder, why did we have to fight? The objective was down. Forcing a fight there, over-forcing, is what allowed IMT to finally play front to back, to finally play the team fight that had been denied previously. If there's a Baron to fight over, sure. But in this case, it felt like they were looking for bonus objectives and just some free kills.
So I don't like the idea of going for the fight. Caps failed to flash a shockwave, a one-man shockwave. He sees the ball come out, and he doesn't notice it. He's just so caught up with the fight. It's an individual misplay that betrays what is otherwise a good call, so I can't hate Fnatic as a team for doing this.
Exactly, and we've seen a lot of right idea, bad execution in moments for both Fnatic as well as Immortals today, and the pressure is huge. This is the highest pressure game you're going to play. Immortals is in a situation where they just opened the day losing to the Gigabyte Marines and still have to play Longzhu. They do not want to have an 0-3 day. They have to perform here.
Here comes the backline axe, the stun onto Olleh, tags the mid laner as well, but they re-engage is not to be had just yet. They've got sOAZ been isolated. Look at the damage they've got. Nautilus is going to fall, and Flame stays alive. Now Cody Sun to the chase. He wants Rekkles. Rekkles has flash. He has the ulti as well. He can get away and does so with that one. Now 5v4 though, and there was no frontline. Broxah is squishy on this Rek'Sai, so the push can continue. Flame gets the passive, gets a heal.
Baron is up. Immortals is actually choosing not to finish this turret in threat of the Baron. They're actually indecisive. Cody Sun's walk back and forth.
They have TP up on Flame, so he can home guard back into this one. Mid lane will fall, and the rest of the squad knows they can threaten the 4v4. Blue up gonna go over to Xmithie, and it's gotta be Immortals getting their cake, eating it too. Now Rekkles in the 1v1, but he is ultless. Cody Sun would probably win that fight with barrier up.
Incredibly brave of Rekkles to walk up there to defend the inhibitor, but Cody Sun did not know who else was behind Rekkles.
So many things happening in an instant when we see these pivoting decision-making choices. Immortals now actually being the ones to turn on to Baron.
Could very well be a smite fight. Definitely not easy.
TP available, sOAZ coming in right now. Broxah over the wall. Who's going to win this one? Xmithie rarely misses in North America. Will he miss it? Worlds, he picks it up. This is the fight now. 5v5, the front line's there. Shockwave pulls in one. They've got Broxah. Now it is sOAZ the front as well. Can they keep him alive in this one? A nice stun only finds one though. Flame going to stay alive, but a poke coming through for Xmithie. Baron picked up for Immortals. They got the kill as well. They can walk away cleanly.
It actually becomes a 50-50. I thought Cody Sun would be looking to ultimate away the Rek'Sai, but they did not even get that ultimate off, and it became the 50-50. Immortals now, with their heroic play, regain the lead.
Immortals made so many decisions in a small amount of time. They threw the gambit of pushing through mid. Fnatic went and took Baron control, but Immortals realized, leave Cody Sun DPSing turrets, send everyone there, ensure they're not going to start a Baron 4v4, 4v5, and from there it all flowed on. But as you say, Jack, Broxah was in position.
He absolutely had an opportunity.
Wow. 100 HP, it was there.
Q, he was syncing them together. No smite from Broxah, then he instantly falls after trying to go in for the steal. And a nice little sidestep by Cody Sun to avoid the ultimate from Caps as they speed away from the fight in the one kill. They're going right down mid looking for that inhibitor though.
That turret was killed earlier based on pretty smart macro plays by Immortals. Now they're going to knock down the inhibitor itself. Of course, it's a 5v5 on the map, and they've still got to respect Rekkles' damage output, who's on a lot of crit chance right now, actually. 90% right now on this build. He's going to do
strong.
Plenty of damage, but the inhibitor's going to fall, and Immortals look for top lane.
Frontline disadvantage, though, on the side of Fnatic here. When it comes to for Immortals, they have only the Maokai in the front line. No Last Whisper may cost Rekkles, but he shreds everyone.
They're pushing so aggressively. The wave is actually rather difficult for them to clear. They didn't precast the
Shockwave gauges, and sOAZ going to flash away, staying alive, but that's Monsoon plus flash down. Trade for Shockwave probably worth it. Here's going to try to heal back up and get back to the fountain. Wave is gone.
Having the Janna ultimate down, both summoner heals down. sOAZ, no stone plate to be seen, still very low with no flash. They can focus him more readily with the front line. Still 2 minutes on Baron. They want to crack the second inhibitor on the next push.
He's back to full health, and Fnatic have all 4 of their combat opens available, everything except Monsoon. Broxah waiting the wings, he's squishy, turret goes down, Baron's still on for 2 minutes. Immortals missing True Shot, Barrage, and Shock in this one. Could be really meaningful cooldowns to lose out on. Xmithie going to push in the mid lane wave, hoping to create a bit of a pincer here and threaten the Nexus itself. Broxah at half health needs to go back to the fountain and heal as well. The Immortals looking like they still might want to keep going. No wave right now in top lane, though.
Yeah, they know the Janna ult is still down. That's so much team fight power, but they don't necessarily have control wards on all of their flanks. They can't ensure that they get that safety.
Going to back out. You're seeing over the course of this game, 20,000 out of Cody Sun. This is a player who honestly felt he had an okay split in North America, but it felt like the team was doing so well and he was a beneficiary. This is a game he's stepping up big.
And I would argue that a lot of those numbers are back-ended because the early fights where they couldn't fight 5v5, where they couldn't fight in terms of being front to back, really cost Immortals. It's when they actually found safety for Pobelter to be a facilitator. Cody Sun's been free hitting. He focused on the Last Whisper into the Lord Dominic's earlier, and he's able to take down the closest target.
And he's just bigger than sOAZ right now. He can kill these tanks very quickly. A trade right now in the mid lane. Mid-tier 2 gonna fall as a result of the Mountain Drake pressure from Immortals. They will get that kill picked up. I didn't see anyone got local gold, but It's more map pressure 6 now for Fnatic.
That's what it's about right now. And also, can they get out? Because they haven't been the strongest in team fights. Anything can still happen, though. The gold is 500 different, and Immortals has an angle on Fnatic.
Can they find Xmithie getting 4 hits with a true shot barrage? He's going to jump this wall.
There's not very much vision for either team right here, so Immortals is somewhat blind and going in here. If Fnatic sneaks somewhere, they could get a flank. It all depends on how these fights play out. Neither team is willing to make a very aggressive move, and they're out.
And the Krugs end up being Tremor Sense in this case. They follow the nearest possible target. They follow Fnatic out. They know which way they went. It does end up being a pretty safe escape with most of the Krug gold going over to the European squad. And as you mentioned, 500 gold apart. We've reset. Baron's going to time out before the next time these teams even meet each other. The only difference being, though, mid lane inhibitor being dead should give Immortals map control.
To me, the biggest difference is the frontline tankiness. Double Randuin's is complete for the frontline of Fnatic. And while the last Whisper item is probably going to be later, maybe even absent from Fnatic because it's only Maokai building tank stats, there is a difference in how long it'll take, even with all this AD, to power through the front line.
Well, he's got the money. Rekkles is sitting at about 1,500 gold right now. He can also sell the Targon Spray for another 400 or so we can certainly pick up his next piece. He has about 2K now. He's very close to Lord Dominic, which I would personally put him in the lineup. I don't think he needs the lifesteal, but we'll see what happens here as Immortals. We're going to keep pushing in the bot lane, see what they can get out of this.
Miasma, such an insane defender of turrets when there's no Baron because all the minions basically die. Not to mention if you want to step up to hit the turret on a Miasma, you can no longer escape and you'll almost instantly be initiated on. Not a single hit by Immortals on that wave to the turret.
Turret's full HP right now. We'll see the next wave coming through that Cody Sun wants in. And they're not going to mean too much. The wave through not yet there for the Fnatic bot laner. Shockwave again. They go for front lane because they have the damage of it. Will sOAZ fall flame. Rooted in the turret, but he pops the stone plate, staying alive a little bit longer. A big 3-man shot right there. Pulling back into the flame. They get the first kill. It's Rekkles getting that one in train as one more comes in. It's the bot lane, the support going down. 3v4, Immortals forced to run away, but Fnatic, they want this one. The chase forward on Pobelter, not quite the blade color range, and just barely missing onto that Miasma. There's still more to be done. They're looking for the kill. Rekkles going to come in and Broxah getting the kill credit on that one. And the flash forward, Cody Sun wants the insect, but betrays his teammate, and it's going to be the ace for Fnatic.
Cody Sun loses his mind by flashing into an entire team at the end, and we talked about the volatility of these fights. Fnatic might win off this. The wave is close.
Everything stacked up at the same time. Flame taking insane turret shots, free autos onto him. No one else is tanky. They kept going in. They had the flashes up, and like you say, Jad, they want to force right now.
Olleh up in 9, Flame up in 12. There's 4 people. This probably isn't the end of the game.
But it is inhibitor at the very least. It's going to die, and they're actually going to look for the Nexus turrets. You're seeing them cheat forward. Ocean Drake region, keeping them topped off a bit more. Here comes Olleh. He's got to respect this. Here comes the Maokai as well. 15 seconds before a carry spawns, and here comes the wave.
Flame
the knockback. Can they get Broxah looking to do it? He's going to flash away. Stays just barely alive. And they're going to look down to knock down turret number 1. Here comes Orianna in 3 seconds. The ulti on the back line. A knockup is there. Cat's a bit low. Do they have the damage? Pobelter must go big. Shockwave. Catches Rekkles. Now out of the Nexus they're going. Do they have the damage output? The hits are coming in. Is it going to be the game? Fnatic looking to knock him down. Will they get sOAZ? He's trying. It's the game. Fnatic 1-4. They knock down Immortals.
After the tragedy of 2014 for Rekkles not killing the Nexus against OMG, sOAZ makes it work with his dying breath.
We said they needed strength of conviction. We said they stood up to Longzhu. Did they win? No. But did they capitulate? No as well. Here, after one passage of play, they take all the variables in. They feel like this is the only time they can close out the game, and by a hair's breadth, they do.
And how fitting is it for the Fnatic Immortals rematch to end with an AD carry flashing forward, dying after a mid laner. This time around, Rekkles on the receiving end of the kill, leading the charge into the base.
And all the tilt after game 1 from sOAZ. He did leave it with one final remark that at the very least, he wants to get one satisfying win at the World Championship. The thing, though, is they're still alive.
Yes.
If they beat the Gigabyte Marines and Longzhu continues to go 6-0, they will enter that tiebreaker for second place.
And we thought today we would enter the day and this meme of NA's performance in the second week of Worlds would go away. Immortals looked strong. They were the team you were going to tip. Suddenly, they are 0-2, and suddenly this group is not decided.
It's going to be a fun one. There's still more games to be played. It's all going to matter. Every single game, almost certainly, in this group stage, is going to mean a lot. And I think the chance of tiebreakers are quite high. Of course, Fnatic can still play spoiler. If they drop to Gigabyte Marines, they almost assuredly give that spot away. And the 4th place spot is still Fnatic's. But that's almost unlikely. It looks like Fnatic are starting to ride the high, and it's going to be such a compelling showdown between those two because that's a very much make or break game.
Yes. So many things were make or break. Even within this game, the last team fight is going to be one of those things that Immortals fans or NA just replay in their minds. Cody Sun flashing forward to hit someone backwards in a 3v4, suiciding for that move. Definitely something they're going to have to recover from because there's still a world where they play Longzhu and even more games after that.
We'll see what comes out of this one. It's going to be a whole bunch of fun. But for now, let's send it down to Dash and the analyst for a closer look at that Fnatic win.
Thank you very much, Freaks. Smiles on all the faces of the Fnatic players as they fought tooth and nail.
And on this guy's face over here.
They fought tooth and nail to keep their knockout stage hopes alive. They've done it, and as Freak mentioned, it's only fitting to have the rematch end in a similar way than the first one went. An AD carry making a big blunder, flashing in, and he gets bitten for it.
The whole thing was a bit Everything about that last series of play was a blunder.
That game looked like everyone was trying to lose.
Woo! All right, well, strong words. Start helping me put some context to this criticism.
I mean, just talking about the last fight in general, which is fresh in everyone's mind. I mean, Immortals just has to spoil play this. They're fighting against an AD carry who has no Last Whisper, right? This is, okay, much earlier in the game, but Rekkles never purchased a Lord Dominix. He never purchased Last Whisper of any kind. They have a stronger front line. They have, the Rek'Sai, who is not really able to join fights very well because he went for this more offensive build compared to, Xmithie on the Ezreal, who's going to be able to poke in. And instead of just slow playing it, taking down the turrets with the Baron, they decide to dive a tank and
it's baffling, and we'll get to that. I want to kind of work our way to it again because this wasn't the story of a game where one team had total control the whole time. It very much met a lot of the expectations set by the first game, back and forth, trading them objectives. I want to take a look at a replay here from Fnatic. 22 minutes around the Baron. Caps coming up with around the Dragon.
We're going back to the Dragon one. So the tornado here from Jesiz is a cool one with Caps. So watch what Caps does. He flashes his Pobelter, doesn't stun, but he does get to combo him on top of the miasma, and sure, they get a couple of kills, and this looks great for Fnatic, right? But look at what Immortals does. Why are they lingering here? What are they doing?
I mean, I think I also just want to talk about before the fight even starts, it's a really lazy setup by Immortals. There's 0 wards on the top side to actually even see if Caps is doing anything. Like, when a Cassiopeia gets to flank around and jump your backline, someone needs to CC him, you got to spot him on a ward, like anything. You cannot let him kill your Orianna.
I mean, when you have this powerful front-to-back combo with the Maokai, if they have that warded out, Maokai W's Caps when he comes over, Caps gets Shockwave, he dies, right? So there's certainly a lot of things that went wrong there, but even with that mess up where Pobelter gets picked, there's no reason to not just base after that.
Of course, they should base after, but I think for a player like Caps, like this is his first year he's playing, he's still like 17 or maybe just turned 18 years old. You're making these kind of plays in basically a do-or-die game against Immortals. You're moving around. You feel confident you can make the play and like flash in. Like, those kind of big moments will define him as a player as well. And the fact he's doing it now, it was very important despite them losing a bit later.
Absolutely, right? We talk about, for these guys on a big stage, a lot of times if things aren't going well, you recess, right? You stop making big plays. You stop taking stabs at it. It's important for a team like Fnatic where they need to win every game from here on out to keep looking for ways to win the game. That said, I want to now take a look at the final team fight. This one brought to you by Acer Predator.
Immortals fans, please close your eyes, and everyone else we can watch this.
I think the Immortals did too.
Like, the worst part here is Immortals will win team fights as long as Flame is just sitting in the front taking damage and his own backline with a Fed Tristana and Ezreal jungle and the Orianna can just kill this AD, Warrior, Rek'Sai, or this Nautilus who's much weaker in the late game.
But, no.
But then when Flame walks into tower, he messes up everything, and then the rest of the team decides to join him in messing up everything. I don't even know what that is. I have no clue what he tried to do.
It's an insect.
Yeah, I mean, who are you insecting him into, right? Even if Cody Sun, I mean,
he's alone.
It's kind of funny a little bit, but if Cody Sun gets back to base, then Fnatic cannot end the game, right? If Fnatic make a ballsy call to go for the end and just barely they're able to pull it off, like, that was really close because that's one of those games, if Fnatic does not end the game there, Immortals walks down mid lane and they end the game.
But again, it's the exact same situation as last week where it's Rekkles making their mistake and all of Immortals are screaming, yes, we did it. Like, we just won here based on a big, big mistake. I cannot stress this enough. Immortals team fight is so simple to play because you have a huge tank in the front the enemy team have to kill. because Cassiopeia and Xayah do not have backline threat. They can't kill the backline carries. Orianna with the ball can always hit the carries. Tristana right there with good position, long range, have enough time to also play safe. And when Flame walks into that tower, he actually messes up everything for his team at the start.
Had all the tools, didn't execute, but that face there from Rekkles, that's the face of a man who does not want to go home just yet. Very happy to pick up the victory. And then I also want to talk about the mistake by Cody Sun, because we're just giving credit to Caps for making big plays as a rookie on the world stage. Cody Sun, a rookie on the world stage, just probably committed his biggest blunder of the entire tournament, has endangered Immortals' chance to get out of the knockout stage. So again, when we talk about rebounding, Cody's got some work to do here, looking towards their game later today.
It's not just rebounding, like the official was mentioning for Caps. That play from Cody Sun is going to define his career for a long time. He's going to have to make up for that big time, because messing up like that, you're basically in already.
And the group just keeps getting more and more interesting. Fnatic took a crucial victory to keep their hopes of quarterfinals alive. For more, let's hear from their AD carry.
Thanks very much, guys. I'm here with Rekkles after another very intense game. It was absolutely do or die, and it came down to the wire with a clutch moment. Can you tell me kind of the story of that game and how you guys managed to do it in the end?
So I think this game was really similar to the one last week when we were playing Immortals. I think it was like a very back and forth battle between us. Like especially in the mid game, I felt like both teams were kind of doing the same thing. No one was really getting anything. We're just trading like Dragon for Baron control or Baron. You know, it was just like really back and forth. So I felt like it really just came down to these last-minute decisions, and I felt like when we were going for the Nexus, for example, we were really just going all in for it. Like everyone was committing to the play, and I think that's what like made the difference in the end. Obviously, it was really close, and it could have gone either way, but I feel like when everyone commits to the same play, even if it's not like the greatest one, it usually works out the way it did. And obviously, this is a bit special as well because we really needed this win, so it was really nice.
Well, you allude to it. If everyone's on the same page, that's great, and we don't need to repeat it. We know there have been some issues publicly as well. Caps had a very intense moment in a video we ran earlier. Can you just give me your perspective on what's been going on and how you managed to refocus coming into this week?
I think like nothing really special has been going on. I think just everyone's feeling the pressure of playing at Worlds. Everyone's like really nervous and stressed out. So when we lose games that we perhaps shouldn't lose, like for example the Immortals one, then I think everyone's just like not feeling it anymore, if that makes sense. I don't think we should beat Longshu by any means. I think we should lose every game that we play against them, so it's no surprise that we're 0-2 now. And I don't think we could have handled the cheesy strat from Marines better either in the first game, because we never saw them play before. And when we researched them in the summer season, they had 1 out of 40 games lane swap, so we thought it's pretty unlikely that they go for it, and then they've been going for it pretty much every game. So I feel like we couldn't really have done too much different, and I think that's kind of what allowed us to refocus, because when we talked about it, we realized that if we had to do it all over again, I don't think we would have done it very different. Maybe the Immortals game, I would have done it different. I wouldn't have made that mistake, but that's something I took for the team, and obviously I should take as well for the team. So I think this week everyone was just really hungry to get some wins on the board, and we were not planning on winning the first game because we knew that it was really unlikely anyways. So the only thing we were really looking for was to get a warm-up for this game. And I think in this game we played much cleaner in the early game, and we had like a more stable game. And then once we got to the later stages, we could fight the way we want. And then we had this one fight bottom that worked out really well. And yeah, just ran it down all the way, but worked out.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Thanks.
Yeah, well, you had a lot to say about it because it's very important and it could be a pivotal moment. And we know you and Fnatic have kind of a history of having those clutch moments that turn the momentum, just thinking back to 2015, 2014. So how much do you think this will propel you guys forward? Because you're still in the race now, but a lot still has to be done. That Marines game has to get won. So what is your vision on the rest of the day?
Well, as I said, I don't think we could have done much different in the first game against the Marines. But now that we have seen them play for a bit, I feel like we have a much better idea on what we need to do. Like, for example, if we had to do it like the same exact game all over again, we would not let the Nocturne do his whole top side and bot side before he defend bot. We would like cancel him on his blue, and then maybe he wouldn't be level 4, and we would just kill them all. So I feel like we have a better idea now on what we need to do for the lane swap, and we also have like a better plan going into it. So I don't think it will be like a mirror of the first game. I think we have much better chances now. So there's definitely the chance that we pull out this win and then go into the tiebreaker situation. But that also relies on Longshu winning all of their games. So we're just going to have to wait and see. But the only thing we can really do from now on is beat the Marines, and then that's pretty much it, right? So we're just gonna wait and see, but do our best for the next game.
Well, we'll see what happens. Congratulations on your first victory, Rekkles and Fnatic. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with the Marines versus Longzhu. Don't go anywhere.
I'm coming.
You can't.
Kill him.
I have no mana. Just get his flash. Nice. Holy shit. Good job.
Looks for the stun, but here comes the team. Xmithie's there in the play. The shotgun's gonna land. They're gonna look the knockdown catch. Can they get him? Yes, they can. The autos come through. sOAZ forced to flash away. Rocked him to chase, but he gets knocked up by the ulti out of Nautilus. Pobelter getting low, and he airballs the shockwave. Xmithie has nowhere to go. He's going to lose his life. This will be three straight kills for Fnatic.
I'm going to catch a bell.
Cassie.
Can? I got it.
Rekkles gonna come in and Broxah getting the kill credit on that one. And the flash bar Cody Sun. Oh, the insect but betrays his teammate. And it's gonna be the ace for Fnatic.
Hit the Nexus. Hit the Nexus.
He got it in the game. Fnatic 1-4, the knockdown Immortals.
If you want to follow the best of the Rift, then you need T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. We've doubled our coverage, so you can stream Worlds in more places than ever before. With T-Mobile, don't miss a moment from the first battle, all the way to the lifting of the Summoner's Cup. Another reason why T-Mobile is America's best unlimited network.